Hello, welcome back to my haunted library. It's Regina. Today I am going to participate in a tag. It's the first time I've ever been tagged on booktube, so I feel quite honored. And this was from Samuel Daram, and I don't know if this tag has a certain name, so if it does, I'm going to check that and I'll put it right here. So these are the questions, and I'm kind of very excited to answer these. Okay, so do you keep a list of the books you have read? I do keep a Goodreads list. It is very convenient. I have some issues with Goodreads, which I don't want to go into too much, but I used to just keep a journal, which I still do when I read, and unless I can't, unless it's inconvenient, like I'm traveling somewhere and I just have my Kindle and I don't have room for the journal. But I like to have a journal when I read it, and it's mostly because because I'm a writer, if a word pops out or even a phrase that I really like, I'll jot it down, and then I'll kind of go back and keep. I kind of keep an informal journal of descriptions that I like, describing moons or clouds or things like that. So, and I keep a list of vocabulary words. I've done that since I was a kid, and it really has helped me increase my vocabulary. Number 2, do you record stats? What stats do you record? Now, when I was watching Samuel's video about this, he has like a whole notation system. I am not that organized with it, so no, I don't keep like official stats, other than Goodreads, which would sort of, have different shelves, but no stats. I'm not a statistic type person. Do you give star ratings for books, and if so, what do you score books out of, and how do you come about this score? I have been using the score rating on Goodreads. I rarely leave a review on Amazon, afraid to say. I am rethinking the whole star rating system because to me it's not a true indication of my enjoyment of the book or the book's worth. For example, I read a lot of trashy horror books which maybe don't deserve 5 stars. Maybe they're not a great work of literature, but I enjoyed it. So I'm sort of measuring my enjoyment, which I can give how many stars I want, but I don't know. There's more to a book than just like 5 stars or 4 stars or whatever. So I'm rethinking that. I have some thoughts about that, not fully formed, obviously. Do you review books? I have reviewed books on my blog, and I'll jot down a couple lines on Goodreads or something, but I'm not really, other than reviewing books on booktube, which I'll talk about books, it's more of a discussion. I even hate to call them a review because it's not that formulated. Like when I read a book review, that's usually from a professional book reviewer or somebody I'll read like the 1-star reviews on Goodreads for entertainment value. So I don't really review books so much. I write about them and discuss them and maybe reflect on them, but that's not really a review. Where do you put your finished books? Well, I do have quite a collection, and in 2019 I'm going to be adding 2 more sets of shelves to my library, so because I have so many books that won't fit on there. So I do collect books, but I also do a lot of library books, and I'm trying to get rid of the books that are just kind of hanging out, that taking up space that I'm not going to read again. Donate them to those little libraries in town, and or thrift stores or whatever. And I do have a Kindle, which I've gotten more into. I only started Kindling like this past year, so I've collected quite a few Kindle books. The books that I do own and do love, I'm very into. Like I love my leather-bound books, and I love my vintage horror books, and I'm always looking for those. So, I collect some, I get rid of some, I take some out of the library. The next one is, how do you pick your next book? Well, I was doing the TBRs, but honestly, that's really not how I read, and I find it constraining, so I'm going to drop the TBRs for 2019. I may plan on reading some books, but that doesn't mean that I'm going to read them. And I'll give you an example. I have a stack of books that I had planned to read, and I did a TBR, And then I wandered into my local library, and then I found a couple other books that I wanted to read first, or more than those books I had in the stack. So, and then after reading one book, I gravitate towards something else. It's more of a mood thing, an emotional choice, and I prefer it that way. Having a TBR feels too much to me like having a syllabus for school, like I have to follow a certain reading list, and that is not why I read. I read for escape. I read for pleasure. I read because it's not school or not homework or not work. It's fun, it's pleasure, it's escape, it's wonderment, you know? If I decide today to finish a book, and I'm reading one right now, and I am one of the library books and I'm getting into it, I have no idea what I'm going to read next. I may look at my stack and decide, oh, you know what, I will go ahead and start reading this. Or I might go on Amazon and buy a new book, or I might wander in a bookstore, or I might go back to the library and find something. So I have no map when I read, and this is how I prefer it, and this is the map or lack of map that I'm going to continue to follow. The map of my whims. Is it over already? Oh, well, here's the last one. Do you have any other rituals for when you have finished a book? Not really. No rituals, you know. I can get a little ritualistic about collecting books, but I mean, the only ritual may be recommending it to someone who I know will love it, or loaning it to someone and saying, you know, you must read this, but that's not really a ritual. And we're finally at the end, and the last one is, whom do you tag? So I'm going to tag 3 people who may already have been tagged for this. So if they are, you know, that's okay. I guess they can choose to do it or not. Hey Little Thrifter from Alex from Hey Little Thrifter, which I love her, love her channel, and I've gotten so many great books from her, and I always am very interested in what she's reading. I can't say that for every booktuber, sorry guys, but I'm always interested in what she's reading. Next one is Jason's Weird Reads, and I'm very curious when I see his stacks of books, like what is going on in his mind when he makes his choices. And the same with Paperback Junkie, who has a really cool collection and stacks of books, and I bet he has some real treasures. So I'm very curious about how these 3 people decide to read, if they are mood readers like I am, or if they have a really elaborate system like Samuel does. So thank you, Samuel, for tagging me in this book tube tag. I really had fun doing it. And please let me know below what you guys are reading, and if you have any certain rituals that go along with it.
As we read by the fire, the faith not afraid, the plans that we made.
So thanks for stopping by my haunted library, and I'll see you soon. Bye.